Alright, I wanted to do a quick review of my Neo Geo MVS 4-slot cabinet. This is just going to be a review of the hardware itself, how it works. I'm not really going to go into depth too much on games, but that'll be later, because I got a bunch of games we can go over, particularly my favorite ones. As you can see, this is a very typical Neo Geo cabinet. If you were alive in the 90s and you went through the whole arcade scene in the 90s, you've definitely seen one of these before. It's very typical, 2-player, 4-slot, meaning holds 4 cartridges. It's a pretty big beast. It's got a 25-inch arcade monitor. Everyone and their mother's seen this game as well. Bust a move. It's probably, you can't walk into an arcade without hearing the bubbles pop. What makes this particular model a little bit different than the others is it allowed you to use headphones and memory cards. Not all of them had this. As you can see here, you could plug in, your headphones. Now, arcades were noisy places. You couldn't hear your favorite video game music, or you couldn't, even hear what you were doing, maybe pulling off your moves, attacks, and what and so forth. Here's the coin tray. I don't obviously use this now. It's set on free play. There'd be a coin box down here somewhere, and actually some quarters still in here. Did not know that. Oh, there's a key too, as well. So, obviously I don't play with the mechanical bits. But you put a quarter in, it gets you, maybe I can use that later. You put a quarter in, it gets you a credit, you go ahead and you play, and you move forward. What I did is, although the Neo Geo cabinet itself has decent sound, it really could use something better. So up on the top here, you see this boom cube looking thing. It's actually a subwoofer. I plugged it in down there so you get the highs and the lows. If you open up this guy inside, before we go with the control panel here, I'll do that last. But if you open up, you have to reach up into here. That's how many plays you get. Obviously, these are the buttons you get to change the bias of the system, put quarters in as well, but we're going to forget that for now. You kind of have to snake your arm up, and you hear that latch pop, hear this other latch pop. Make sure this is closed. Let's go ahead and take a look inside. And there you see a very typical 4-slot motherboard. That's the entire brains, of the unit. MVS 4-slot, made in Japan. This particular unit was made June 12th, 92, and is still running strong. Never been recapped. Never been anything, really. It's just set it up and go. The battery still works. I haven't even touched it, but I really should get on that. So you see I have a Super N1. It's 161 games, really about 80. Half of them are boots. Metal Slug 5, Cross Swords, Puzzle Bobble. The whole idea was this was the first arcade cabinet to have multiple games, and for multiple manufacturers. These aren't just SNK. Obviously, Puzzle Bobble, one of the biggest classics, is made by Toyota. Metal Slug 5, obviously it's SNK Playmore after SNK folded in 2000. If you look down over here, you kind of see a volume max. There's 2 volume settings. One goes to the headphones, and one goes to the speakers, which are up there. What you could do if you really wanted to, you turn the volume all the way down and just plug your headphones in. It wouldn't bother anybody. Over here, I've replaced all the buttons with brand new hap switches, and that's it. I mean, this is basically what the inside of an arcade machine looks like. Very easy to swap games. I got a ton of them over here, all stacked up, and for the most part, I just use a Super N1. Just it's simple enough. Over here, this weird button-looking thing. You gotta play with this. These are your vertical holds, widths, controls, contrast, brightness. It took me a real long time to get this picture the way I liked it, but I think it looks really, really good. So, I'll just keep it like that. Go ahead and close this down. Lock it back up. You definitely want this locked when you're playing. Otherwise, you could pull the monitor up. The control panel up, and it shakes, and it's just, you want it nice and tight. Quarter there for later. Up here's the mini mark, and like most of them, they are busted. I'll show you what's inside of it. You pull these out, and you see warning high voltage, and that is true. I have electrocuted myself by touching these 2 guys right here. It's not plugged in now. These are OLEDs. Basically, they light up when you have the specific game in there, and you get these mini mark looking things, and they slide in like so. I have obviously Bust a Move in the Aero Fighters too. I have a whole bunch of these Cross Swords. It's already in there. And that pretty much advertised what game is in. Again, being back to the genius, that you only need one arcade cabinet, and this thing has been around from 90 to 2004. So, All you had to do was buy it once, and you put in multiple games, and this thing brought you quarters. So that's what this is. I'm going to replace these. And finally, there's a guy on the internet that actually has these simple weld-on. You pop these off, you cut them to place, you pop them back in, and obviously you not weld, solder these pieces here, and then you're off and working. Although if you do touch that while it's plugged in, oh boy, you get yourself a nasty shock. Alright, plug this back in. That slides in. There's supposed to be a lock here. Obviously there is not. Now, if you don't have a quarter, you don't know what game you want to play, you just kind of hit the select switch. And there's a nice little intro. I believe this is Metal Slug 5 by the SNK Play More. Anything after 2000 became SNK Play More. Metal Slug 5, not the best in the series. You could argue it's got the best music, but certainly not the best Slug series. Obviously it's worth owning. The graphics are incredible, but I think the game wasn't really that inspired. Crosswords, it's a launch title. Very, very different type of game. You have to fight, kind of like if you ever played Punch-Outs, it's similar to that. People attack you. You have character, obviously up to 2-player characters. You can have special attacks. You fight forward. It's kind of like an RPG. You can upgrade your weapons. Very long game. This is absolutely a quarter muncher. It's designed to just take your money. And it's probably what it did when it first came out. I mean, this is 1990, 1991. These graphics were incredible during that time. If you go back to here, just take a quick look, you kind of see these stickers. This one's obviously sun-faded. I leave it there. Again, Bust a Move Again, which is the sequel. That lets you know how to play. And here's my favorite game up here, if you can kind of see it. SNK. This is Samurai Showdown 2. Somebody stuck it on the glass, and if it was any game other than Samurai Showdown 2, I'd be upset. But these are all the moves of my favorite game on the system. Going back here, you can see typical hack and slash back and forth. Obviously, everybody knows this game. Tayoto. Bust a Move. You pop bubbles. Everybody likes it across the board. Going back to what we were saying before with the memory card. You can see here, this actually plugs into your home console. So let's say you have the game at home and you want to save it. This was the first system. This is 1990, so this was, you know, this was Star Wars at the time. Goes in there, it saves your games, your progress, everything. And these are arcade games. Sometimes you don't have enough quarters, so if you're a really rich kid, you go to the arcade and show off to all your friends. You put the card in down here. You're set, right? When your game is done, you don't feel like pumping in more quarters, you save it, and you go home, and then you can come back and continue. Or you can continue on the home system. The games on the home system and the arcade machine were absolutely identical, other than the pinouts and the packaging, of course. So if you were to take one of these games, the MVS games, and plug it into the AES with a converter, it would play just like an AES game. Or if you set it to arcade, it would play like an arcade. That being said, you pop a quarter in, see if it makes a noise. The typical sound, you hit start. Let's go ahead and hit play. Let's play a quick game here. I don't know what to do with that. Let's see, I'm going to hang it there. And then put the yellow there, it drops. I need to go faster. And there we go. Again, going back down here. You hit this. Gets you into the hardware test settings. You go ahead. You press the hardware. This is kind of like the convergence. My monitor's not perfect because, unfortunately, the one thing that is wrong with this is the width coil's kind of broken, so the screen's a little bit too wide. It's not bad enough where it bothers me, but down below you kind of see a little bit of discrepancies, but dead center all throughout here. It's absolutely perfect. This monitor's perfect, so I'm not even going to play with it. You move on. You hit the one player again. Red, green, blue, white. All perfect. Not too wide. And this lets you test all your buttons here. So you press A, obviously B, C, D, start. Oop. Oh, I want to insert memory card now, memory card test. I don't want to do that because it might erase my games. So I'm going to go ahead and forget that. Backup clear, plus A, B, C one at a time. Here's the date. It doesn't stay because the battery isn't that good in it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not exactly certain if there's a way to get out of this, but if you noticed, electric light 1, 55, 44, here's all these random numbers down here, let you know that that's working perfectly fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's supposed to be the mini marks up here. Obviously they're not plugged in, they're not working. The dip switches, these are the settings you can put on the arcade board. Obviously dip switch number 7, if anyone's interested, you select that, you have a free play on your machine. That's it, doesn't need quarters, it's as simple as that. Also for the Super 120 or 160 in one cart, you have to flip a dip switch. I think it's 1 or 8, I forget which, that allows you to change the settings of the games. You can't do it normally. Up, down, left, right. Just let you know that all the buttons are working perfectly fine. Unfortunately, you can't really get out of this screen. You're kind of just stuck in it. So you come back down here and reset it. I'm just going to shut it off. Turn it back on. Always get the same data screen right there. Beautiful sounds. SNK Neo Geo. Only users lose drugs. And I'm going to get back into this again. Setting the software dip. Unfortunately, I didn't pick a game, so I'm going to have to get back out of this again and select another game. That's the other thing. When you put in a multi-cart, it only sees that until you select the game. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pump a quarter in real quick. Let me just switch. Switch again. I'm going to pick this time. These are all the games, obviously, in the cart. I don't know. Come on. 8-man. Here we go. System resets again. This is all from the cart, actually, now. You go down here and you go into this software dip settings. Here it is. 8-man, Metal Slug 5, Cross Swords, Bust a Move, right? So let's go to the 8-man. Hero 7. I set that, continues infinite. I put everything on level 5. I find level 4, well, that's normal if you want a real challenge, plus, you know, you're not using real quarters here. Metal Slug 5, here are the heroes. You know, I set them to 9, turn up the difficulty to 5, add some extra time here. I like having a level display on to get that arcade goodness. And English, Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese. Oops, there we go. Blood is on, of course. Cross Swords, infinite, yes, 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 level 4, back off, best to move, difficulty, and you can just set what you want. Versus round, let's say you want to have people there for a while, put them on 5 rounds. That means best of 5, you know. Maybe the arcade operator will do that if you really like them. And you get out of here. You can do the bookkeeping. What this does is allows you to lets you know how many times things have been played. Obviously, it's not saving, so let's go ahead and back off. You can set up the calendar, again, something I can't really do because it doesn't save, and you click exit. System resets, and there you go. It's simple enough to use. The biggest problems with these things are the monitors. If your monitor's bad, it's hard to get one that works. Even mine's not perfect, although I think it's good enough not to play with. So, and another thing you can do is if you don't want this thing to make noise, which I don't unless I'm playing it, you just go into set up the cabinet. Sorry. Demo sound. Oh, without. Click exit. Resets again. That's it. I highly recommend getting one of these. You can get a decent one anywhere from $300 for a 4-slot all the way up to $500-600. Depending on what games, what comes with it. Well over $1,000 if it comes with a bunch of games and everything absolutely works. Problems with these, obviously the controllers are gunked up. You get scratchy, people kicking it. This is fairly good shape. It's got a little fading here, a little gouges, but again, I leave it. It's not worth going crazy over it. And that's it. I highly recommend one. And that concludes this video.